From rags to riches and back again. Greetings and welcome. This is KYC News for you. According to the National Endowment for Financial Education, 70% of lottery winners end up broke, and a third go on to declare bankruptcy. Runaway spending, toxic investments, and poor accounting can quickly deplete a lucrative windfall. From relative rags to riches and back again, watch on for the stories of lottery winners who discovered this the hard way. Kenproxmeyer winnings $1 million. Kenproxmeyer won the $1 million Michigan State Lottery jackpot in 1977, and he chose to receive his windfall in $50,000 annual installments for the next 14 years. Proxmeyer jumped right into the millionaire's lifestyle, buying a house in California, a new car, and his own pool parlor for himself and his family. However, the businessman expanded his new venture too quickly, and it was the catalyst for his high life collapsing into bankruptcy, fueled by lavish spending and mounting debt. Proxmeyer's advice to lottery winners in the future? According to an interview with the New York Times, crawl into a hole and pull the top in. Denise Rossi winnings $1.3 million. Denise Rossi and her husband Thomas had been married for 25 years, or so he thought, until Denise unexpectedly filed for divorce in January 1997. 2 years later, Thomas received a letter from a company that pays lump sums to lottery winners addressed to his ex-wife. He discovered Denise had won $1.3 million just 11 days before filing for divorce after obtaining a court injunction. Thomas should have been entitled to half of his wife's wealth as part of the divorce settlement under California law. He took Denise to court, and as punishment for her deception, a judge ordered her to pay her ex-husband not half, but all of her winnings. Marva Wilson winnings $2 million. Marva Wilson of Kansas City won $2 million on the Missouri lottery in 2008, but she didn't keep it for long. Freya Pearson, a family friend, duped the unfortunate prize winner out of her winnings, leaving Wilson with nothing. Pearson received a 5-year prison sentence for her crime. Ronnie Music Jr. winnings $3 million. When he won a $3 million prize playing the Georgia Lottery in February 2015, 45-year-old Ronnie Music Jr. put his winnings into a crystal meth ring rather than investing them wisely in real estate or stocks and shares. The hapless drug dealer was apprehended, and Music Jr. was sentenced to 21 years in prison in April 2016. Callie Rogers winnings $3 million. Callie Rogers, Britain's youngest lottery winner, was overjoyed when she won $3 million in 2003 at the age of 16. The Cumbrian supermarket checkout girl quit her job to spend her money on cosmetic surgery, drug-fueled nights out, vacations, and gifts. So much so that by 2013, Rogers had only $2,580 in his bank account. Willy Hurt winnings $3.1 million. Willy Hurt was charged with killing a lady in a drug-related incident just 2 years after winning a $3.1 million jackpot in Michigan's Super Lotto game. Hurt's attorney told the media that the millionaire had already spent his money and that he would be appearing in court on open murder charges after it was discovered that a 30-year-old lady had been shot in the head. Although it's unclear if Hurt ended up in jail, authorities at the time said that a conviction wouldn't stop his $2,156,000 annual lottery payments. Lara and Robert Griffiths winnings $3.5 million. This British couple lost their multi-million-dollar lottery winnings, and as a result, their marriage also ended. Following their £1.8 million, $3.5 million windfall in 2005, Lara and Roger Griffiths thoroughly embraced the lifestyle of affluence, but reckless spending and poor investments soon led to discord between the couple. After Roger left the Griffiths' 14-year marriage, he said that their wealth was all but gone a week later. He admitted to the Sun newspaper in 2013 that he only had £7, $10.50 to his name and that Lara was helping to support him. Suzanne Mullins winnings $4.2 million. After winning the lottery for $4.2 million in 1993, Suzanne Mullins of Virginia found herself bankrupt and more than $150,000 in debt 10 years later. Mullins stated that she used $1 million of the monies to pay for her son-in-law's long-term loss illness and that when her funds ran low, she borrowed money from a lottery winners foundation. She was sued for the amount she owes after failing to repay the loan, which made her situation worse. IBI Ronkioli, winnings, $4.3 million. When IBI Ronkioli won $5 million Canadian dollars, $4.3 million, on the Canadian Lotto 649 in 1991, she and her physician husband Joseph were already well off. However, there were issues in the relationship. IBI sent the most of the winnings to two hidden sons he had from prior relationships. In July 2003, after learning the truth, Joseph killed his wife by injecting her with a fatal medication mixture. For the offense, the former gynecologist was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Daniel Carley, winnings, $4.4 million. Daniel Carley, another lottery winner who ended up in jail, won $5 million Canadian dollars, $4.4 million, on the Ontario Lottery in 2006. The St. Catharines resident blew through his money, and by 2012, Carley was bankrupt and drowning in debt. He turned to drug peddling out of desperation and was given a 2.5-year prison sentence in August 2017 for distributing drugs. Lou Eisenberg, winnings, $5 million. Brooklyn-born in 1981, on the foreboding date of Friday, November 13, Lou Eisenberg won the New York State Lottery Prize, turning him become a multi-millionaire. The greatest lottery payout at the time was the $5 million win. Eisenberg spent the most of his money on gambling, and the remaining sum was used to compensate his ex-wives. By 2001, Eisenberg was residing in a mobile house after the money ran out. John Roberts, winnings, $5.1 million. When Edinburgh native John Roberts won £3.1 million, $5.1 million, in the UK National Lottery in 1998, the champagne corks flew, but Roberts didn't get to enjoy the good life for very long. The Scot spent a fortune on luxury vehicles and dubious ventures, such as a dive bar. Roberts' winnings had vanished by 2001, and he had to move into a mobile home. Evelyn Basehor, winnings, $5.4 million. When Evelyn Basehor won the lottery twice in the middle of the 1980s, she appeared to be the luckiest person in the world. She received a total of $5.4 million in just 4 months. The New Jersey resident gambled away the majority of her money in an attempt to continue her luck, but the habit left her penniless and forced her to work 2 jobs to make ends meet while living in a trailer park. Nevertheless, Basehor clung to the possibility of another victory, and NBC News reported in 2016 that she continued to purchase lottery tickets. Sharon Tarabassi, winnings, $7.8 million. Sharon Tarabassi, 39, of Hamilton, Ontario, won $10.5 million Canadian dollars, $7.8 million, in the Canadian Lotto Super 7 back in 2004 as a result of her own charity. Tarabassi lavished money on friends and family, buying everything from fashionable clothing to a swanky Cadillac. Tarabassi is currently living modestly in a rented home with the last of her lottery winnings invested in a trust for her children. Francisco Guerrero, winnings, $8.6 million. Francisco Guerrero, a Spanish bricklayer, struck it lucky in December 2005 when he won $8.6 million in the Spanish Bonaloto. However, apparently with the help of a Santander bank staffer, he made a number of poor investments and ultimately lost all of his properties in addition to the money. Lawrence Canlish, winnings, $9 million. Lawrence Canlish, a native of Gateshead, spoiled his family with gifts, including real estate and automobiles, after winning £5.5 million, $9 million, in the UK National Lottery in 1997. Early in the 2000s, Canlish relocated to Spain and invested the remainder of his money in a number of doomed business ventures while fraudulently applying for UK disability benefits. The now bankrupt expat returned to the UK in 2012 to answer for the fraud and was given a suspended sentence. Peter Kyle, winnings, $9.8 million. Peter Kyle, a former soldier, earned $9.8 million when his numbers were drawn in the UK National Lottery in 2005. To celebrate the win, the Plymouth native also won an additional £500, $961 at bingo. But all of this wonderful fortune was short-lived. Kyle invested his money in a number of risky investments, lost it all by 2008, and had to file for jobless benefits. Lee Ryan, winnings, $10.3 million. Lee Ryan, a Londoner, was awaiting trial for dealing in stolen vehicles when he won £6.5 million, $10.3 million, on the UK National Lottery in 1995. When he was finally released, the convicted criminal, who had previously served 3 years in prison for car theft and was jailed again in late 1995 for the same crime, spent lavishly. In the mid-2000s, Ryan divorced his wife and moved to Kyrgyzstan with a new girlfriend, only to be duped out of the remainder of his winnings. By 2010, the money had all but vanished, and Ryan, dubbed Lottolag by the UK press, had spent 2 years sleeping on the streets. Brian McGee, winnings, $12.7 million. Brian McGee of Derry, Northern Ireland, made the Sunday Times Top 100 Rich list for young people in February 2008 after winning £6.4 million, $12.7 million, in the UK National Lottery. But his wealth was fleeting. McGee lost a fortune when his company went bankrupt in 2013, and he eventually had to sell the house he bought with his winnings to pay off his creditors. Michael Carroll, winnings, $13.8 million. Mikey Carroll, a refused collector, won the UK National Lottery jackpot at the age of 19 in 2002, winning $13.8 million. The convicted criminal from Norfolk, dubbed the Lotto Lout by the British tabloid press, squandered the lot on partying, jewelry, flashy cars, and gifts for family and friends. Carroll was so broke by 2010, he was forced to return to his previous minimum wage job to make ends meet. William Post, winnings, $16.2 million. When William Bud Post won $16.2 million on the Pennsylvania lottery in 1988, he thought he'd struck gold. He didn't feel so fortunate when his brother attempted to have him murdered in order to obtain the money, and his wife successfully sued him for a large portion of the winnings. Post's spending was out of control, and he eventually ran up $1 million in debt and was living on food stamps for several years before dying in 2006 at the age of 66. John McGinnis, winnings, $16.3 million. After winning a massive £10 million, $16.3 million, on the UK National Lottery in 1997, football fan John McGinnis quit his £150 a week, $244 per week, hospital porter job and spent like there was no tomorrow, eventually purchasing his beloved soccer club Livingston for £3 million, $4.9 million. However, McGinnis was unaware that he would be held liable for the club's debts, and his remaining winnings were devoured. McGinnis barely had enough money for groceries by 2009. Keith Goff, winnings, $17.3 million. Keith Goff won £9 million, $17.3 million, when his numbers were drawn in the UK National Lottery in 2005. Keith splurged on luxuries and spoiled his family and friends, and as his spending became out of control, his wife divorced him and Keith became an alcoholic. He died of a heart attack in March 2010, broke and deeply in debt. Jenna Lee, winnings, $18 million. Born in South Korea, Jenna Lee went from rags to riches when she won $18 million on the Missouri Lottery in 1993. The former wig maker's American dream quickly turned into a nightmare due to his overly generous nature. Lee gave millions to charity, funded the Democratic Party, and purchased everything on credit. By 2001, the philanthropist had declared bankruptcy, owing her creditors $2.5 million. David Lee Edwards, winnings, $27 million. In 2002, David Lee Edwards of Kentucky won a $27 million share of the Powerball jackpot. Edwards went on the mother of all spending sprees, blowing the entire fortune in less than 5 years on a massive mansion and a fleet of luxury cars, not to mention copious amounts of narcotics. The lottery winner died in 2013, penniless and alone, after being ravaged by drugs and estranged from his wife. Bill Bob Harrell, winnings, $31 million. When Bill Bob Harrell, Jr. won a $31 million Texas Lottery Lotto jackpot in 1997, he immediately quit his job at Home Depot. Harrell was generous with his millions, purchasing homes for himself and family members and generously donating to his local church. But the do-eagerness gooders to help others proved to be his undoing. Only 20 months after winning the huge sum, Harrell was broke and tragically committed suicide. "Winning the lottery is the worst thing that has ever happened to me," Harrell reportedly told his financial advisor just before his death. Andrew Jack Whitaker, winnings, $113 million. Andrew Jack Whitaker, a construction executive, was already worth $17 million when he won a whopping $113 million after taxes in the Powerball multi-state lottery in 2002. Whitaker, unlike the others on this list, was no stranger to managing a multi-million-dollar bank account and began organizing extravagant donations and investments. But his good fortune didn't last long. The Virginia native claims he was robbed several times in the early 2000s, and that 3 of his family members died tragically in the space of 5 years. Whitaker's personal life spiraled out of control, and he failed to pay his debts and declared bankruptcy by 2007. He told reporters that he wished he'd torn his ticket up, according to Time. We really hope that you learned the most from this video. If so, please like it and remember to subscribe to this channel for more. Enjoy your time.